Hey, everybody. How are you? I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist. Here's the question we're going to start with and we're going to work with today. If you think about this personality type and you had to choose an animal associated with it, okay? Do you think of this personality as, let's say, a grizzly bear or a giant turtle? Okay. Here's where we're going to go with this. And I'm just going to dive right in. The personality that can't say sorry, or they can actually enunciate with their mouth the words, I'm sorry, or I apologize. They are physically capable of it. Heck, maybe even once in a rare while, they do say it. They do apologize for something. But overall, it is like pulling teeth to get this person to say, I'm sorry. It's just simply not something that they want to do, or usually in most cases, really will do. They just won't do it. That's not something that they will stoop to doing. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about this personality first, what it's like to be in the mindset of someone who really can't say sorry in their relationships, whether work relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, family relationships. They just won't or don't do it. The mindset of this personality is often when they feel triggered, challenged, when they feel like they're in a situation where they probably should say they're sorry, they know it's expected. They even kind of wish that they could bring themselves to do it, but won't. In these moments, a lot of times what they do is they develop this defensive posture. And this is sort of this place they operate from where it's them against the world. In that moment, for that personality, that's often how they feel, like it is them against someone else. Maybe it's you if you're on the receiving end of it, or maybe it's just people in general in that moment. The personality that can't say sorry whenever something goes bad and they feel like they're expected to say sorry, they will feel like they are an island. Okay. It is like they are a human island. And what they usually do is, you guessed it, separate and separate and separate further and further away to what they say is safety. Imagine a castle on the hill with a moat around it, iron gates. Think about the posturing of that castle. It is unapproachable. And should someone make the mistake and try to approach it, well, there's no way anybody's going to be able to penetrate the gates and the moats. It's untouchable. Now, here's the thing. If anybody is operating from that mindset, does that person feel good? Does that person feel relaxed and calm and at peace? Does that person probably feel when they think about people, just the human race, when they think about relationships, friends, family, loved ones, does that make them feel warm, loving, trusting? Can they access that soft part of their heart where they feel like they collaborate with others? They want to work things out with people. They care about how people feel. They are actively working on some of the things about their own personality that they need to improve. Is that how the person feels and operates who can't say no? No. It is a place of isolation. And I would say it's a type of emotional prison that the personality who can't say no ends up operating in. It is so limited and constricted. They are shutting out so much of the light that they could feel and be with if only they were able to work it out in some of these moments with people, to soften and to say they're sorry, to remember, wait a minute, I'm telling myself that this person is my adversary, opponent, maybe on a very primitive central nervous system level, right? Where the central nervous system gets triggered into fight or flight. There are predators around. Maybe The person who can't say no actually feels like there are enemies around. You are an enemy, and you're thinking, but wait a minute, I'm not the enemy. We know each other. We have a relationship. Sometimes, if this is a personal relationship, you might even be thinking, but you love me. You love me. What are you talking about? How could you treat me like an opponent or an enemy? But this is the defensive way that this personality, the person who can't say sorry, the person who can't be wrong, this is how they operate temporarily. They are pure defense mechanisms. Everything else is out the window. They are operating on high alert, and all they are is the sum of their defenses. And what do their defenses serve to do? To keep them guarded. Keep them guarded, separate from any threats. And yes, that means separate from any relationships that require any kind of collaboration or emotional intimacy. Why? Because the personality that can't say sorry feels that emotional intimacy is scary, is threatening, is also a game that they simply can't master and be good at. Imagine me, for example, I'm not a chess player. I don't know how to play chess. I do sort of imagine that it's very, very difficult. I don't even know if I could honestly learn how to play chess, but it sounds very difficult to me. This is how a person who can't say sorry feels about a lot of times about emotional intimacy and the messiness of relationships. That when things get bad or they feel like they're up against the wall in some way, or someone's asking something of them, God forbid someone asks them to change in some way, or someone's expecting something that emotionally they feel like they can't deliver, it's not comfortable to deliver. They go into this defensive mode, they shut down and they shut themselves off. And I say the word prison, emotional prison, because they are locking themselves away from actual connection to others, from actual connection. Here's the thing. When I asked about those two different animals, if you had to have an association, what someone who can't admit that they're sorry, who can't do that, sometimes we have the tendency to think of that person as mean or bad or harsh or cruel. Okay. We may think of them as if they're that animal, that huge, daunting, overwhelming, overbearing, scary grizzly bear, perched on hind legs, growling. You can practically hear that grizzly bear. Or you can think about this personality as think about it as like a giant turtle with that huge hard shell on the outside and the tiny little head. And sometimes you know what that turtle does. It goes inside its shell. It retreats. And I mean, I'm not a turtle specialist, but I would certainly imagine that that's also where the turtle goes for a sense of safety. When it retreats, it goes into its shell. So, see, it's interesting. When we think about the personality that can't be wrong, we realize, hold on, we have a mindset about how to understand that person. Do we think of them as a grizzly bear, scary, dark, and maybe dangerous? Or do we think about them as vulnerable, someone who simply doesn't know how to protect themselves except to retreat, to go inside their shells, to move away and isolate themselves? I think that it's important when you deal with a personality like this, maybe they're in your family or even in your home, it's really important to frame them in an understanding that maybe shows a little bit more compassion and understanding. Although it's perfectly understandable if you feel like they are cutting you off and maybe that feels so callous and cruel, that's understandable, but it will serve you and the overall relationship better if you can learn to think of them as being more like a turtle who simply retreats and needs to go to a place of isolation and safety. Okay? This is really an important shift, and I encourage everyone to think more about it. And then finally, One thing that I will just mention is if you have a personality like this in your life, someone who's close to you, whether in your personal life or at work, you can say to them in the most gentle way possible, whenever we have any kind of conflict and you feel upset with me, I want you to know that you can trust me. I want you to know that I will always be here to talk it out with you, that I will refrain from cruel labels or saying mean things. I will work really hard to not raise my voice or yell, even when I feel frustrated. That you matter more to me, that understanding where you're coming from and finding some type of place of agreement is more important to me, matters more to me than anything else. And I'm committed to that. You can say that to them and feel it. You can really feel it in your heart. I'm committed to, working things out with you. And when you access that part of yourself and you show that and it's genuine, the other person will soften. They will open those iron gates outside their castle. They will come outside and they will be more willing to talk. And then finally, the last thing that you can say to the other person is, hey, would you be willing to think about something and I will think about it too? Would you be willing to think about kind of going forward the next time this happens, maybe just what each one of us could do a little differently so that we end up feeling more connected and not like we're actually pushing the other person away? Would you be willing to think about that? And I'll think about that too. Okay. This sends the message, listen, some of these major personality challenges and also just relationship dynamics aren't solved in a day or a moment. The way they are improved is little by little, one conversation at a time, one open, honest conversation at a time, where each one of us is willing to give the other person the benefit of the doubt. And heck, maybe even see the other person as more of a gentle animal, if we have to associate in an animal exercise or game, as opposed to a more predatory. If this video has been helpful at all, you might find some of my other videos here on my channel, Dr. Seth Psychologist, helpful for you too. Have a good one, everybody.